Hello everyone, it's Christine here from beautiful Bright in Alpine, Victoria, where I'm on holidays, and I'm coming back to share part 2 of creating this piece for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, celebrating favourite fabrics and also love. So I am adding in the words Joie de Vivre, which is French for joy of life or love of life. So in the previous video, I shared how I created these this outer circle using Eppiflex templates and also these little hexagon flower in the center using some of my favorite Bonheur de Jour fabrics, as well as another one, I think from the Reverse Art Truck, a vintage, or these are both actually vintage fabrics that I had in my collection that I used to create the alternating pattern around the outside, and it's all just on a piece of calico that I got from the Paul Punker, no, not the Paul Punker op shop, the Myrtleford op shop up here. So putting it to immediate use, I got a whole lot of it. So since the last episode, I have stitched down all of the circle and stitched down and finished stitching together the hexagon flower. So you can see on the back I went around and stitched across, including between each of the pieces, and sometimes just working on the surface, just putting little stitches in to hold those in place. So you can see it's all very cohesive now, and then this was all stitched down just with tiny little stitches, just using a burgundy polyester sort of sewing cotton to stitch it down. So it just makes a really lovely cohesive piece. And then I've started couching down the letters for the word Joie de Vivre, or the words of Joie de Vivre. So I'm doing them in a sort of a running style, nice loose style that sums up the sort of joy of life. And the reason I'm using green is, you might recall that part of my piece will be incorporating this beautiful monogram that was stitched by Alex's mum on this blanket, which travelled all the way with her from Budapest. So let's pop through and let's do our lettering, and let's see if I can actually write and get it straight. I've got the iron next to me, so I can always erase this writing. So I'm just drawing myself a little outline so I kind of get the writing in a curved manner, and then I'll want the middle V to be about there. So it's V-I-V-R-E. But if I need to erase it, I can, so it's not the end of the world. It's probably a little bit too high, so I'll make that, might just fix that up, the I. Just got the iron next to me, and as you can see, it immediately erases it. I'll just give myself my little guidelines back, and then let's just redo. We'll have a look if we're happy. I think that's pretty good. Probably could have been over a tiny bit more. Maybe I'll give it one more go. You get to see the magic of erasing with the iron. Okay, so let's just draw my little guidelines back in again. And so if we want that, maybe I'll do the middle V in just so I get that in the right place. That's probably the easier way to do it, to work back from where you want your middle to be. I do feel that the V and the I are still a tiny bit too spaced out, so I'm just going to take those two off. I'll leave the rest of it. So as you can see, you can just keep altering it till you get it just right, just like Goldilocks. Okay, I am happy with that now. I think that's good. So what I'm using is this quite thick perle cotton. I think it's a DMC. It's vintage though, so I don't know if this number is still correct, 987. And let me just get another strand of it that has all of its labels. It's a DMC cotton perle number 3, made in France. Don't know if it still is or if that's just where it used to be made. So what I'm going to do is I put a knot in the end of my thread. And so with couching, you're normally just working on the surface, but I want to have the end of my thread anchored at the back. And my thread is not so big that I can't actually bring it through the fabric. And then I've also got a little needle threaded, and which I've tied a knot in, and this is just a regular polyester cotton. And what I'm going to do is use that polyester cotton to couch it down. So I'm actually, for each of the letters, I'm going to go in at the start and come out at go back down into the fabric at the other end. So I'm going to leave myself a loop in the shape that I want, but I'm not going to pull it tight. And then I'm going to start by putting a stitch in where I want one of my outermost points to be, which will be the bottom of the V. And then I'm going to go back into that hole, but I'm going to loop my thread around the thicker thread. So my little polyester thread will loop around the thicker one. And then once I've got that anchoring one in, I can actually pull the thicker thread a bit more and start to then couch it down in some other places. So couching down is where you're basically putting a stitch over a thicker thread to hold it and anchor it in place. And so I'm popping up and going down through the same hole, and I'll just put enough little couching stitches in to hold the surface thread where I want it to be. So I'll do another one up towards the top. And I'm using a colour that's pretty similar. It's not absolutely identical, but because it's a very fine thread, you can't see it. It just looks like it's part of the weave of the thicker thread, the perle. So I thought we'll do this stitching together, and then I might show you what I'm thinking. I've had a good little brainwave, I think, about what I'm going to do with the blanket, and I've got a couple of my pieces ready to show you the monogram, as well as what I'm thinking to put around this monogram over here. So it will give me a bit of further stitching I can do before I come back and then sort of, yeah. And I've also got a piece that I want to make after this one, celebrating my grandpa. So my Nana and Grandpa are very much, loved by me. They're very missed from this world. And so I had an idea of a little piece I want to do to celebrate Grandpa, and then I'd like to do one for Nana as well. I'm just having a ponder on that, whether I've got everything I need here to do one for her. So I'm actually, really happy that I'm going to have lots of space to play in and just be able to put lots of lovely things on this piece. There'll be a sampler of all sorts of lovely techniques. And yeah, it's going to be fun to try out some of my other Eppiflex templates as well. So as you can see, I'm just putting little stitches along to hold the thread down in place. So coming up on one side, and then I try and just go down through the same hole because that will just create a little loop over the surface and just hold the thread in place. So I've got enough there holding the V down. Hopefully you can see the sun streaming in behind me, but not directly on the table, but hopefully you've got enough light. So on the back you can see I've got my little thread, and I just keep that out of the way while I do the next stitch. So I'll probably, where am I coming across from? I'm coming across from the top. I might do a little French knot for the eye to start. Might do the eye slightly lower. It's probably okay there actually. I'm just going to make sure I'm not tied up. Nope, I've kept it separate. So French knot, I'm just going to do a single wrap, and then I'm going to take it back down, holding the thread, keeping the tension, pulling the needle through, and forming the sweet little French knot eye. and then I'll go and put the next bit of thread in. And so again, starting at one point and then popping back to the back at the next, but not pulling it super, super tight, and then putting the little couching stitches in, again, making sure I'm not twisted in any way. And then I'll travel across and put some little couching stitches in over here. So I don't need to couch down the French knot because that will just stay secure on the fabric. It's good having the blanket underneath here because it means I'm not poking my needle into the table. Yeah, I'm keen to start stitching some things down, I think, on the blanket. Otherwise, I'll get to the end of the project, which will be December. It'll be a busy time, and it'll be sort of a bit of a push to get it all stitched. So I think I can just start spacing some things out. And I've come up with an idea, which will mean that the background's kind of ready to be stitching the pieces onto. Whereas otherwise I was thinking I was going to have to leave the edges sort of poking up a little bit to be able to then put other fabrics underneath. But yeah, I'll talk to you about that in a moment. So I'll put a little stitch in for the curve of the bottom of the eye, just to hold that nicely curved. The lovely Travis is asleep on the floor because I took him for a big walk along Canyon Walk this morning. I've actually posted a little video if you're interested in a bit of a travelogue. Hopefully it doesn't make anyone dizzy. It is taken while we're bushwalking along the track next to the beautiful Ovens River. And I got very inspired while I was on that walk because there's all these little mosses and little tiny plant life by the river. So I took some little photos of close-ups of those so that when I go and do the Fleur Woods retreat next year with Nature's Textures, I've got some lovely inspiration. I'm thinking I'll make myself a little book with some photos and things in it to take along with me as inspiration. Sorry, I was almost going to stitch down and start doing a back stitch, but no, we're doing couching. So again, I just popped out at one end of the V and then back down at the other. And then all we have to do is bring our thread over. And this time again, I'll start down at the furthermost point, so the bottom of the V, and get that couching stitch in, like that. Give the other thread a little pull so that it falls into place. So I'm just pulling this thread over here just to get it nice and tight. And then I'll put a few more stitches in on this side. So just always poking up and down the same hole or thereabouts. Now you can do couching, and you might have seen this if you've been following my stitch along videos. You can do a contrasting couching, which is lovely. Where you use a contrasting thread, but I just wanted to keep this, the pure green for this one. You can also couch onto ribbon, which is really lovely. So I did a couched, as part of the stitch along, a couched ribbon with little French knots, couching that down rather than loops. Possibilities are endless with these stitches we have. It's just about sort of combining them up. So I wasn't sure. I think I might put some little hearts in this shape as well, just to get the full love effect. So now I'm just going to pull my thread. I think that's pretty good. So now we can go over and do our R. So I'll probably need to just do a straight bit for that bit of the R, and then we'll come back and do the other bit. So So I'll just get that couch down first. So always just looking at the back to make sure you're not getting too twisted with your thread. I'm enjoying the calico to work on. It's actually really lovely to stitch. And I like that it's got that more, it's the unbleached calico, so it's just got that nice natural little speckle through it, which I think is good for this sort of rustic piece. That sort of French countryside feel, which was the whole inspiration for all the toile fabrics, was all about celebrating countryside and simple life, which is what I like too. I like a simple life in the countryside. Alex has a block of land up here, and one day we would absolutely love to build on that land up here and be living up here. It would be delightful. Unfortunately, the building industry, I think, is a bit of a basket case at the moment here in Australia. Lots of builders are going bankrupt because of the increased sort of cost of supplies and not having those factored into their contracts, and then sort of labour shortages, all sorts of things are impacting on them. So lots of very sad stories of people that had started builds and then their builder ceases operation, and then it's hard for them to find someone else to actually finish the job because another builder won't want to take on someone else's build and the responsibility that kind of goes with what they've done or not done properly. So we just thought, no, that would be very stressful to happen, and so we'll just wait it out a bit and we shall see what happens with the industry. But we both love this part of the world. Just so fresh and crisp and lovely, and it's got the river, it's got the mountains, it's got the little towns, it's got the op shops for me. It's not all about the op shops, it's just a nice bonus. Okay, so I'm just coming up at the start of the E and then going back down, and so I'll show you how we do our little the loop. So you just shape your broad shape, and then you bring your little couching thread over again, check the back to make sure you're not getting tangled, and I'll do a little stitch at this end. So I'll actually pass my needle through the little loop of the E there. And again, I'll just take it back down, and you don't have to worry about holding it at this point, you just need to make sure you're getting the loop where you want the loop to be. And then we can do another stitch just over, probably do it over here to hold it in place up the top. Come out that side of it. So you're not piercing your couching thread at all, you're just putting little loops over it. And it's a lovely way to get really even letters, whereas if you were back stitching this, for example, it would be a little bit more lumpy looking, which is fine as well. I do back stitch quite a bit for letters, but I just thought this would be nice to use this thicker green. It will link in the green from the monogram, from Betty's monogram. Oops, let's just untangle ourselves on the back, there we go. Okay, so we need to keep couching down our letter E. So it's Saturday here. I could tell yesterday afternoon, even when Travis and I were coming back from a walk, there were so many cars coming into town, people coming up for the weekend. It's a very popular destination for mountain bike riding, as a base for people going up to the mountains, although the skiing season is coming to an end. Apparently there's not much snow up there at all. Alex and his brother always buy a ski pass to use up here, because it usually ends up, like, by the time they've gone up 5 or 6 times, it's cheaper to have bought the sort of, the season pass and the car pass. But yeah, this year they haven't gotten up before this time, and apparently they got some very strange looks when they rocked up to pick up their season sort of pass for the first time. Because most people would have picked it up at the very start of the season, but just with Alex's health issues, and Max also had a knee op as well. They just haven't fitted in any other skis this season. But at least they've had 3 good days of skiing. Alex's best friend went up with him yesterday as well, with Max, and Alex's dad just goes up to the village with them and goes for a nice walk and has lunch with them when they come down from skiing. And Travis and I just tour around down the bottom of the hill, because I've got my car with me, although there's just so many places like the Canyon Walk. We just walked across, just sort of cross the road and walk along the river a bit, and then the Canyon Walk starts. So I'll just put in a few more stitches just at the bottom of the E to hold it in place. And the great thing with this technique is that if you get something that's not in the right position, it's very easy just to undo your little couching stitches and then just reshape your letter. But it's a pretty forgiving technique. Let's put in another little stitch here. So there you go. You can see all of the E is couched down. So that is, I think, pretty good. So now we'll just tie both of these off on the back. Just do one there. And I'll just couch it down at the back as well, just to hold that securely. Oops, where did my needle? There's my needle. It undid itself. I think this might be one of my little vintage needles. I got a whole lot of vintage needles, mainly for the vintage packaging, because I want to make myself a vintage haberdashery journal, but some of the needles are still in pristine condition. So I think I grabbed a few out when I was looking at some of the packs, because I'm thinking I'll combine some of those vintage haberdashery packs into this piece as well. Because now that it's going to be not sort of being framed up or anything, I think I can have some more dimensional elements on it. I've got a beautiful little heart buckle from Betty as well, which I'm thinking I'll add in as part of this prompt as well. I think I brought it up with me. So that's all just held in place now. So I'll give you a little close-up of it. So that's the Joie de Vivre. And now we can just iron off our little markings. Got a click iron next to me. Oops, just put in a crooked bit there. Hang on. Ironed in a crease by accident. Sorry, that's the iron hissing there. So there you go. That's all very secure. Nothing's going to be moving around. It's all stitched down at the back. And that's that piece done, unless I want to now add some hearts. Again, it's the friction marker, so it gives you the freedom. And the good thing is, on some fabrics, you sometimes get a little bit of an outline, but on this calico, I can draw as much as I want, and I'm not getting anything sort of left over, which is great. How do we feel about that? I wonder if that one needs to be, that one I think needs to be a little bit more tilted maybe. Or do I want to do 3 down each side? Pondering. Hang on. Let's just show you how easy it is to erase it with the iron. 3s do tend to look quite good, so I wonder if I start one a bit higher. And I could either do these sort of appliqued on with fabric. Or do I need to spread them out a bit more? Let's just have another go. Decisions. Okay, so maybe we want one down here. One there. One there. I don't want it all perfect. I want them, a bit imperfect. So I think something like that. And so I'll either, follow the same technique to couch them down, or maybe using a burgundy colour, or I might cut out and applique on some little hearts as well. I think it could be quite cute to applique them on in maybe even a different set of but coordinating fabrics. I think that would be very, very cute. So I might do that as homework, and I'll show you that next time. But I wanted to share with you what I'm thinking for other parts of the piece. So let me just move this one out of the way. So we have the monogram over here, and the blanket just starts over at this corner, so I've got it folded in half. Now I got this beautiful lace tablecloth from the op shop. I can't remember which one I got it from now, whether it was the Polpunka one here or the Myrtleford one. And it's got, just beautiful floral designs. It's just in the perfect sort of off-white. But it does have a couple of little holes in it, so I'm quite happy to kind of be able to, use it in my Stitchery projects. I'm just trying to find one of the holes. You can never find the hole when you're looking. Oh yeah, there's a little, like you can see, there's a little tear here, another little tear here. So it's it's definitely able to be used. But what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I wanted to have a surface over the blanket, because I didn't really want the full-on, because it is an orangey goldy colour, but I thought it might be a bit too full-on if my pieces were just, for example, like this piece I've done with my monogram. I thought it would just be a bit too much if this was kind of sitting straight on the blanket like that. But I had the idea to lay this lace tablecloth, and it's big enough, I think, to be able to stretch all the way over and cover the full distance of the blanket. Or I can add another one if I need to, but it will cover quite a large area. And to use that as my base, so that then when I'm putting pieces like this one on, which I'd like to then be able to just sort of cut around and put stitches. I'm thinking with gold thread, just do lots of seed stitches when I stitch it down. I think that's going to look quite nice on the lacy background, and I think the lacy background has that sort of Frenchy look to it. So that's what I'm thinking I'll do, and whether I'll probably overlap it just at the border, just to give the edging of the blanket, because there's a couple of places where the blanket edging has worn away, not on this bit, but somewhere further around. So that's what I'm thinking there. Now for the monogram that Betty stitched on it all these years ago before she travelled across the world with this blanket. I think I'll cut through the lace, and I'm planning to overlay a heart that I've cut out. And the great thing is I use this favourite fabric which has birds and also grapes on it, and the grapes are actually quite meaningful for Alex's family, because his brother's a winemaker and they're also from Italy, which is well known for its grapes. So it's kind of bringing together a bit of that side of the family. and putting that heart around Betty's monogrammed initials. So I was thinking that would sort of sit around, and I'll probably have that even sitting a bit further over, so it's centrally around the G and the E. And then what I'm thinking I will do is cut, I'll draw first with my friction marker, and I can probably do that pretty soon. Let me just get the lace where I would want it to be, straight as possible. And then we can have a go at doing that. So then I would sit this. So I've got the E, the G's there. That looks pretty central. Got it straight, I think, along here. Now let me just push the chair up, get my friction marker. And so I think I'll leave a bit of lace on the inside. Am I going to be able to get the friction marker to mark? Oh yeah, I can get it to semi-mark. I might even actually use my cardboard cutout to take out that area. And so that will then be cut out with a little, possibly, I'll see how it looks, with a little rim of lace on the inside. If not, I'll just cut it back further around. And then I thought I would have a look through my box of laces to see if there was something nice to put around the edging of this piece. So I've got so many laces here. Can't put it quite under the camera because it's a bit too close. I was looking for a nice little fine lace, if I can find one. Got lots of lovely little doilies and things as well, which I think will be really nice to just add in amongst the piece. And then I've got beautiful little vintage lace pieces like this as well, which could be also great to be putting on corners. You can't quite see that, but sort of like that. So I've got this little trim. I think they call this gimp. It's like a really fine braid. We actually, in our dictionary of stitches, did a stitch that was similar to this. But yeah, I think that could look lovely stitched down all the way around the heart. It's kind of reminiscent of these little swirls in the branches, and it's the right sort of creamy colour. I think in that case I would probably actually then take the lace back so it's just behind where the cutout is, because I don't think you'd need both layers of lace. But there's definitely enough of this to be able to go around, and I just stitched that down all the way around. And then I'll be able to, so I'll do that probably off camera and get my lace piece all stitched in place so that it's ready to go. And then with this one, which is my monogram, so it's got my initials C, J and O, all now stitched around with gold thread, so it sits beautifully out from the piece. And I've got my little French toile design here, and that's where I'm planning to put all little seed stitches around. But I won't want to have it sort of, I don't want to do them all in a line, so I'll want to have it sort of offset a bit from for example this piece, and then put some smaller other pieces around. So I think I'll be able to probably get this monogram on soon, whether I put it on further down the blanket that way, just so the two monograms are apart from each other, or it might be nice to have the monograms close together. I've also got some sweet little monograms on a Kathy Holden fabric, which I was thinking I'll just put on some little, could even cut out some little calico hearts and just have those scattered around the piece as well. So that's probably enough for today. I will go away do my homework. Either do some applique, I think some applique hearts. I'll see how those look. And I'll probably just do raw edge and then might do a little blanket stitch or something around those, or my little German knotted stitch is quite nice as well. And then this one, when I put it down on the piece, I can either cut around it in a circle, or I can put it on like this, for example, and have it overlapping with another piece. So it's definitely, it's all starting. I'm really happy I've come up with the idea of putting this lace piece over the blanket. I think it's just going to be really, really lovely. I'll just pick up the safety pin I just dropped on the ground. And yeah, it'll be nice to still see little glimpses of the blanket through it, but not have that full-on brighty orange colour. It will just give those little flecks of gold and green and the cream, and just give some really lovely layering. So this piece, I really want to have all the layers of fabric. So thanks so much for watching, and I will come back with a further video, probably working on the little piece that I want to make for my grandpa's memory. Take care, everyone. Travis is having a shake. I think he's ready to go and have an adventure. So I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.